Lesson 8 for November 14 to 20, Education and Redemption, read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Friday, November 20. The Great Gospel Commission of Matthew 28:18-20 set in motion a remarkable religious movement throughout the whole world. Here a few apostles, or missionaries, the two words mean the same, those who are sent, went throughout the whole world and gathered up students, made them into disciples and called them to believe in Jesus, baptized them, and proceeded to teach them all the things Jesus had commanded them. The picture is that of Christian converts from around the world, representing different cultures and speaking different languages, coming out of the waters of baptism only to enter a school and begin their education. This is not surprising, for they still had much to learn. The reason Christians are always learning is not just intellectual curiosity or an eagerness to master knowledge, but rather that the Christian life and faith permeates every corner of daily life. There is so much to learn. Because of that, the letters of the New Testament contain both the proclamation of Jesus, sometimes called the New Testament word 𝐾𝐞𝐬, and education in all the things Christians have to learn, sometimes called the New Testament word 𝐷idache. A good example of proclamation is seen in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 2, whereas education begins in 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and continues on and off in the rest of the letter. What is it Christians have to learn? Work, rest, social issues, community relations, church and worship, economics, philanthropy, relationships with the authorities, counselling, family systems, marriage relations and child-rearing, food and its preparation, clothing, and even getting old and preparing for the end of life. Both one's personal life and life in this world. To be a Christian means to learn something about all these things and more. Understanding them does not come naturally. It has to be learned. And that brings us to our 3 discussion questions for this week. How important is the educational work for the mission of the church? 2. What did Ellen White mean when she wrote, "Heaven is a school in education," page 301? And 3. Read 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 to 16 again. Look at what Paul is telling us about what God is revealing to us through inspiration. Think about his assertion that the rulers and wisdom of the age will come to nothing. If he could say that back then, what about some of the wisdom of our age as well? Let's read 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 to 16. And I, brethren, when I come to you, do not come with excellence of speech or of wisdom, declaring to you the testimony of God. For I determined not to know anything among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I was with you in weakness, in fear, and in much trembling. And my speech and my preaching were not with persuasive words of human wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not be in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. However, we speak wisdom among those who are mature, yet not the wisdom of this age, nor of the rulers of this age who are coming to nothing. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery, the hidden wisdom which God ordained before the ages for our glory, which none of the rulers of this age knew. For had they known, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. But, as it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. But God has revealed them to us through his Spirit, for the Spirit searches all things, yes, the deep things of God. For what man knows the things of man except the spirit of the man which is in him? Even so, no one knows the things of God except the Spirit of God. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit who is from God, that we might know the things that have been freely given to us by God. These things we also speak, not in words which man's wisdom teaches, but which the Holy Spirit teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. But the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him, nor can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he who is spiritual judges all things, yet he himself is rightly judged by no one. For who has known the mind of the Lord, that he may instruct him? But we have the mind of Christ. Inside Story. Our mission story this week is titled Resurrected in Indonesia, and once again it's by Andrew McChesney. Two student missionaries greeted their supervisor, 𝐾𝐚𝐤𝐸, with excitement when he arrived at their tiny village on the Indonesian island of Papua. "Pastor, we have a very nice story," said Santos, a 22-year-old student missionary from University 𝐶𝐚𝐤𝐸, a Seventh-day Adventist university on faraway Sulawesi Island. "We prayed for a dead 8-year-old girl, and she was resurrected." Sungbae, a South Korean missionary, served as director of the 1000 missionary movement in Indonesia, had flown in a small airplane and walked 2 days and a night to reach the village in Papua's Samir district. He had come to coach the student missionaries at the halfway point of their 1 year of mission service, but first he wanted to hear about the girl. The student missionaries said something terrible had happened a few days earlier. Upon returning from a house visit, they had found the villagers weeping and chanting at the one-room hut of the village chief. The villagers were mourning for the chief's daughter, Naomi, who had died 2 hours earlier and was lying on the hut floor. A witch doctor was leading the villagers in the chants. The student missionaries began to weep. They longed for the villagers to turn away from their dead gods of trees and animals to trust in the living God of heaven. Santos and his friends sat beside Naomi's still form. Santos gently picked her up and wrapped his arms around her. "Dear God, please show a miracle to the villagers," he prayed. "We have given Bible studies and they have listened. Show them that you are more powerful than trees and animals." The missionaries prayed for 2 hours, holding Naomi's body and crying. They sang a gospel song, "Because He Lives." The villagers were touched by the tears, the prayers, and the song. Suddenly, Naomi woke up. She turned to her astonished mother. "Mummy, I am hungry," she said. Her father, the chief, was shocked. With his own eyes he had seen something more powerful than the trees and animals. The village chief gathered the villagers for Bible studies when the Sungbae arrived. All 57 adult villagers gave their hearts to Jesus. "It was a miracle," said Sungbae, now president of Pakistan Adventist Seminary and College. "Some people might think that resurrections only occurred 2,000 years ago. But such miracles still occur today when we put full faith in God." And there's a photograph here of Sungbae on the left. Thank you for your Sabbath School mission offerings that help spread the gospel around the world.